more on errors. It is said that the Inuit people of northern Canada have 57 words for snow because snow really matters to them. The language of error benefits from a similarly vast taxonomy because lots of clever people spend lots of time thinking and talking about it. We have limited time, so we'll segment errors into 3 broad categories. Perceptual errors relate to the availability and interpretation of data. Your picture of what is happening is wrong. We'll dig deeper into this in the segment labelled Situational Awareness, but for now please accept that reality exists not in the outside world, but inside your mental process. Any answer informed by flaws in data gathering, transmission or interpretation will change your understanding of a situation, but, right or wrong, it will be your truth, at least for now. Decisions build on perception. Decisions may be about which version of reality is correct, or what course of action to take on the basis of what you believe to be happening. Perception is largely about here and now, but decisions have a consequence in the future. Decisions affect the trajectory of thoughts and actions. The third category is skill-based errors. These are typically about the execution of a decision or a plan. It may be that the motor control and fluency required to perform the correct action are lacking. For example, if you haven't played the piano for several weeks, you're more likely to hit a wrong note or certainly play less well. Look out, try harder is not a strategy for managing errors. Good risk management practice means controlling the circumstances which increase the likelihood and/or the consequence of error. In high-risk environments, such as aviation or healthcare, we use a dynamic, always-on, always-adapting response to risk. It is called threat and error management. Threats are the hazards in the environment or arise from the activity which we undertake. Errors are mistakes which we could make or the conditions which make error more likely. Different perceptions of risk lead to different levels of response. When considering threats, choice 1 is to avoid. This requires a distant time horizon. Few people think that the risks associated with bungee jumping are worth taking. Their strategy for managing this risk is to avoid taking part. Choice 2 is to trap. This requires notice or a pre-existing plan. To cope with the uncertainty or the risk that cannot be avoided, we can either set conditions to limit our exposure or have ready-made alternative courses of action planned. This is the Plan A, fall back to Plan B, fall back to Plan C response. Choice 3 is to mitigate. We react to current events. This is for the situation where we fail to foresee a risk. Our defensive courses of action are not effective. It is a damage limitation exercise. When considering errors as opposed to threats, avoid changes to prevent, followed by trap and mitigate. When designing systems or working practices, we ordinarily include a margin of safety in recognition of the real-world influences. Failures occur when the cumulative impact of these influences is greater than the margin allowed. It is inappropriate to blame any failure on one specific, and usually the last, influence. The last influence merely represented the last straw. The corollary of this is that steps which we take to remove or manage any influence reduce the likelihood of failure. We have seen that errors have different origins, mechanisms, and consequences. Error is normal, but not inevitable. We must be alert to threats and actively manage both the likelihood and the consequence of error.